you learn from losing, you
Mm.
learn from failures. If you don't lose, you don't really learn anything. I think that's one of the most important things for someone to do is just really invest in yourself and, in your education.
What's the biggest mistake you think people are making when it comes to trying to get into tech sales? Today's episode is with a Sword client who just landed a job. His name is Roldan. He's awesome, but he was doing door to door and also some machinist job. I don't even know what that means, but he wasn't making a lot of money. He was making around 45K a year. Tried to get into tech sales on his own, didn't work. Went into the door to door field for about 3 months, realized that that was not it either. And we actually got connected through social media. He was listening to this podcast. He hit my team up. We figured out we were going to be able to help him. And boom, just 43 days later, we helped him land an awesome fully remote SDR role. We get into some of the reasons that his job search was so successful and also some of the reasons that it was unsuccessful before joining Sword. So I think this episode will give you a lot of takeaways that you can apply in your job search. Y'all, welcome to the Breaking Into Tech Sales podcast. We've got Roldan in the house. Roldan,
What's up, everybody?
dude, thanks for being here for real. Um, I am so excited for you, man. I did the math, by the way, on how long it took you from your first job app to getting the offer. 43 days. Smoking, bro. Our average is 38 days, so you were right there,
Great.
Doug. It's awesome.
It's not bad then.
Not bad, man. You crushed it. You were just talking about sleepless nights and stuff like that, so it definitely takes
Yeah.
some hard work, but you're here. Tell us what were you doing before you even came across me and tech sales? I think you were doing some door to door and some like machinist type work, or what were you actually doing?
Yeah, so before, I was actually a CNC machinist for an energy company. I was pretty much in charge of making parts for like gas and oil industries. Um, but like around April, they ended up doing like a layoff for a company restructure. And so that kind of led me to really kind of look at other options. I didn't want to keep doing machining, so I just ended up kind of looking into other industries like sales. So that's kind of where I started learning more about tech sales and what it was like and what
Mhm.
it is. And so, I remember trying to actually break into it by taking a course on Coursera. I think it's called the Sales Development Representative course. Super easy, took a month. While I was doing it, I was just sending applications and stuff, but I saw that nothing was working. So
Mm.
I ended up kind of thinking to myself, you know what, let me just do door to door sales in this case. So I picked up a little door to door sales in the pest industry for 3 months. And once those 3 months was over, that's kind of when I came across Sword. And that's kind of where I ended up actually wanting to do that full time
Yeah.
and just focus on really just kind of land a role.
So you tried to get into tech through this Coursera course. Why did you go into door to door though? I feel like that's such a hard job, man. Why did you decide, yeah, let me do door to door?
Well, I know one thing for sure is because I didn't really have much sales experience.
Mm.
And because I was applying to these jobs, nothing felt like it was working for me. I had no guidance. I didn't really know who to reach out to. And so I told myself, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and look for a sales job. So I went on Indeed and I saw that door to door was just an option.
Mhm.
I've heard about door to door and what it was like. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and just go deep in and see what it was like. And I will tell you, those 3 months had to be probably the craziest experience I had to go through. It was very, very tough. It's a tough industry or even job to actually get into, but
Yeah.
I did learn a lot. I picked up a lot of skills, and I did enjoy it, even though there was times where you know those tough days as well.
Yeah.
But other than that, I really just did it because I wanted to see if I get some sales experience. Maybe hiring managers will look into that.
Hmm.
But that's kind of
Any
why I just
any crazy door to door stories, or was it all pretty the same?
uh, I think the craziest one was probably where I went to a neighborhood. I didn't know it was a no soliciting neighborhood. It had like three different entrances to this neighborhood. So um, I had a guy actually threaten me and was ready to pull out a firearm on me. So yeah, it was very scary. But that's just kind of a normal thing. It's so rare for that to happen, but it's bound to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I would open my door for you if you came knocking. So okay, so you grabbed some door to door experience, kind of hoping it might help you stand out on your resume a bit more. Is that right?
Yes.
I gotcha. Okay. And how did you come across me then? Was this Instagram, LinkedIn? Where did we even connect?
I believe it was like so after my contract ended for the door to door, I started saying like, you know what, let me just see what other options I have. I think I was scrolling through, I think it was TikTok or it might have been LinkedIn, and I came across like a clip of like one of your podcast episodes,
Mm.
and so I was like, hmm. So I clicked on it. I actually ended up going on Spotify, and so I remember like me every day I would go on a jog in the afternoon. So I remember just going on Spotify and I was just listening to like your podcast episodes and just trying to like just listening people's experiences. And so once I kind of like seeing how you were helping like, these students and people that were, in your program, I ended up following you on Instagram. And I think that's kind of where like I believe you reached out or I
Yeah.
reached out. It might have been one of the two. And that's
Um,
kind of where I discovered you and really kind of got to learn more about Sword.
Wow. And now you're on the podcast. You're going to be like a
Yeah,
voice that someone's listening to right now on their run. That's
yeah,
hilarious.
it's crazy.
I'm gonna throw you a curveball question here. What do you wish we talked about on the podcast when you were listening? Like, kind of curious about tech sales that we don't really get into.
Mm, like prior to the prior episodes,
Yeah, like what when you were listening to my podcast, was there anything you wish that was in the episodes that we just didn't talk about? And it's okay if you need a second to think about that. I know it's kind of a weird question, but why I'm asking is because I want to answer those questions for people that are out there listening to this.
man, that's a good question and a tough one too. Because I know every episode was kind of it was different. Like it was kind of almost the same questions, but those questions led to different, I guess, different other questions.
Yeah,
If I had to take a guess, maybe it would be like kind of maybe challenges
yeah,
with like maybe people's scenario, like maybe where they were in.
yeah.
Um, Like, I know everyone had a different scenario where, like, maybe someone was doing full time, going to school full time and working 2 jobs, or there was people that were, a full-time mom or,
Mm.
or they were just in the oil industry and they're working long hours. So it just seeing kind of from different perspectives, it kind of really it can definitely hit, for someone who's watching, like for me, when I was watching your podcast, I think I came across someone who also did door to door,
Yeah.
or they had done something similar, or even like a server. I used to do serving too, so it kind of does, make me feel intrigued to keep listening and see what challenges they were facing at that time.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. Well, if you were to answer that question, then um, what specifically was hard about your situation?
For me specifically, like one thing that would have hold me back was really financial,
Mm,
like for financially. And the reason why I say that is because I remember at the time, I got laid off. I didn't have a lot of money to spend, but I did have some in my savings where I can try to stretch it out as much as I can until I actually land a job. I made decent money in door to door, but it wasn't very consistent. And so I kind of used everything I saved up from door to door and just try to stretch it as much as I can. I had bills like my car note, rent, other things I needed to take care of. And that's kind of what really was holding me back because it was either one, I do this full time, or two, I pick up a part-time job or a full-time job and see if I can do this on the side.
mm.
So I ended up just, biting the bullet. I told myself, you know what, how about I just go all in on this and worry about financial wise just later on.
Mm, mm. I think that's a really good point you bring up, kind of to what you were just talking about. Like people want to hear what the challenges are, right? And that's a real
Yeah.
challenge. It's the finances. It's like you're probably on a job search because you're not happy with where you're at. A lot of you probably aren't making a ton of money right now. So how the heck are you going to invest in a coach? And what if it doesn't work? And what if you fail? And what if it's a waste of money and time and all those things? So how did you unstick yourself from that mindset? And was it worth it?
The way I unstuck myself from that mindset, I told myself, I was like, okay, look, I'm it's already been like 4 or 5 months since I got laid off. I don't see a lot of income coming in. Um, I feel like one, I can try to figure it out on my own and still be stuck, or two, I can just find a way to invest in myself and see if I can, learn, grow, and see if I can land an opportunity, because for me, like it was really kind of about like finding a way to make it work. And you will like, I found a way to make it work, but as well as like, being able to invest in myself. I think that's one of the most important things for someone to do is just really invest in yourself, in your education
Mhm.
or even in a mentorship too. Um, that can definitely help you. But yeah, I would say definitely for me, that was more of a challenge to get.
What I'm sure you were afraid, right? Like, what if it doesn't work?
Oh
Things like that. Um, at the end of the day, would you say it was worth it, or do you feel like with something like Coursera, you could have figured this out on your own?
I would definitely say it was worth it. I did. I will be honest. I was quite scared, and the reason why I was scared is because it was different, like different things. Finance, as well as like, okay, I'm going to be competing with other people who might have that sales experience already, or the SDR role title, BDR role title, and so I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and especially it was just so new. I kind of see it as like a new hobby or a new skill that you pick up where you don't trust yourself how good you're at, but it's like the more you learn and the more you keep doing and the more you just kind of find ways to make it work, you'll see like progress go on.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I get it. Like, I was terrified to make my first investment in like a business coach, terrified, and ended up pulling trigger, ended up going pretty well. And since then, my mindset has changed about investing in yourself like that with coaches and stuff. But yeah, my whole life, I was like, I'll figure everything out on my own. And now I'm like, there's guys out there that are probably a little wiser than I am. It might be helpful to latch on to what they're doing. And I'm glad it worked for you because I know there's other people who have done the Coursera's. They've done the boot camps, like higher levels. You pay $500 or $1,000 and you get access to a bunch of stuff. The course careers out there, same thing. And they get all the info, but they don't get the result. And so I think that probably would have been really frustrating for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like me, because in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, if I just do this, I guess Coursera course, I feel like I can actually break into tech sales, and that's not the case, because really you only get kind of a taste of what it is, what the role is about, what you're pretty much doing on a day to day basis. But at the same time, I feel like you also kind of it's better to learn from someone who's already done that role or someone who was in that industry as well. Um, and Coursera, there's no one's coming at like no one's really reaching out to you saying like, hey, do you have any questions, this and that. It's pretty much like you're on your own, you figure it out, and when you get the certificate, that's it.
Mm.
And so I was very frustrated because I was like, man, what am I doing wrong? I got the certificate, I put it on my LinkedIn. I pretty much kind of already had an idea of what the job was like and everything, learning tech tools and all that stuff. But I felt like it's a lot more different when you're trying to apply as well,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of things that go on also of like trying to really stand out from the competition that's out there.
Yeah. Transparently, as a hiring manager myself, I had hired for 4 years. Whenever I saw a certificate like that, honestly, it meant nothing to me. And I don't mean that disrespectfully because a guy like you don't know better. Like, you're so new to the industry. You're like, let me go above and beyond. Let me learn about this. Let me get the certificate. I'll put it on my profile. And from your perspective, you're doing a lot, right? You're showing, wow, I'm going above and beyond. But from my perspective as a manager, the reality is a lot of people have the certificates. And so when I'm going through resumes or I'm reviewing profiles, I've seen too many people with the same certificate that haven't been good quality candidates. So for me, it makes no difference. I'm like, you could have it or you could not have it. I think what's different though is when you can say, I've been working one on one with an SDR leader to do the job to get the job. That's why I'm in this interview with you because I cold called you or I sent you a video. That's why we're here today. That speaks so much more to me than I got this certificate online. So, from your perspective, like when it came to applying and actually landing interviews, what method did you have the most success with? Like, what actually worked the best for you?
I think what worked the best for me to actually land interviews was definitely reaching out to the hiring manager or the recruiter,
Mhm.
in different ways. The best way is obviously cold calling them. Uh, Cold calling was one of them, and then also sending like a video to them through their LinkedIn. They, it pretty much kind of stands out, and the funny thing is, I've actually still have this message to this day. But I remember reaching out to, I had applied to this company from like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and the hiring manager finally reached out to me. He's like, "I'm going to push your application to the top and send it to my recruiter because you're the only one that sent me like an intro video of yourself, introducing yourself, and you talking about the that you apply for the job." And so really, when you stand out like that, you have a higher chance of not only impressing the hiring manager or recruiter, but also like landing a chance or the opportunity to actually, get an interview. I know you mentioned this before. You say like a lot of people that usually when they apply, they set the bar real low, and they don't reach out to the hiring manager, the recruiter, or even the SDRs or BDRs on the team. I feel like that also helped me too because when you reach out to an SDR, sometimes hiring managers may have their messages flooded, and you can get a hold of the SDR or BDR on the team. They might even mention or name drop you to the hiring manager or even the recruiter. So it just gives you a higher chance of actually, you know, landing an opportunity to get an interview.
Quick interruption, y'all. If you need help breaking into tech sales, linked below is an invite to our Breaking into Tech Sales community. In there, you're going to find resume help, LinkedIn help, where to find good jobs to apply to, how to interview, literally everything you could need to go land a great job in tech sales completely free. Go get signed up. Back to the episode. What's the biggest mistake you think people are making when it comes to trying to get into tech sales?
I think the biggest mistake people make, I think, is like they give up too easily, or they lose courage quickly. Because I'm not gonna lie, like for me, while I was applying, I was I had applied to jobs that weren't getting back to me quickly, but at the same time, it's like the more I tried reaching out, the more I was getting, like, sometimes it'll take days. It can even take 2, even 3 weeks. Not all the jobs, but you will find a company that may take like 2 weeks to actually get back to you and say, "Hey, we want to schedule an interview with you." So I feel like people get discouraged too quickly when they're not seeing that they're landing interviews. And then another thing I know for sure is, even going through the interview process, there's different rounds for every company. Some companies had 3 rounds, 4 rounds. I think the most I did was like 5 or 6 rounds, and I was like, man, like if this is if this is what the expectation is, this is crazy. But honestly, to me, I liked it because it gave me a taste of what the interview process is like, with the recruiter, hiring manager, the SDR, BDR team, and even like the VP of sales. You'll pretty much meet and connect with different people, and you kind of already know or have an idea what kind of questions they're going to shoot you. But yes, you will get shot with the curveball sometimes, and it's just kind of, you just have to be real with them.
This might be another curveball for you, so it's okay if you need a second to think. Were there any interview questions you felt like you were either unprepared for or that were like pretty hard for you to answer? If you can think of a specific one. Maybe you can't because we prepped you so well.
That's a good question, actually.
And it's if
One that
none, okay, go for it. Yeah, I was gonna say if none come to mind, it's not a big deal. But yeah, which one was it?
I think I think one might have been like, what was like, oh man, it was like a scenario. Or actually, no, I did have a no. Someone asked me, "Do you prefer? Oh, what was it? Do you hate to lose or do you love to win?"
Ooh, what'd you say?
And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" That honestly, I think I told him straight out, like, I think I'm gonna take like 2 minutes to really think about it. But I told him, I think my answer to that one, and honestly, that was just a hard question for me because I didn't know how to answer it. It's like a 1-1 kind of
Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
But I told him, I I told him I think I love to win more, and the reason why I said that was because I don't mind losing. I do hate losing, don't get me wrong, but losing, you learn from losing, you
Mm.
learn from failures. If you don't lose, you don't really learn anything. So that one was really a tough question, and it was just like a random question that this
Yeah.
hiring manager threw at me. So
That's such a good answer. So, okay, I'll give you the back channel here of why we asked that. We really want to hear your thought process. There's no right answer, but your thought process had sound reasoning there. So if you just said, "Oh, I hate to lose more than I love to win," and that's all you said, red flag. We want to hear why you chose the answer you chose. So you were able to explain, well, I don't mind losing because I can learn from failure, so on and so forth. I think what the typical salesperson thinks they have to answer is they hate losing more than they love winning. Because
yeah,
as a high performing sales rep, you just want to be so averse to losing that you're gonna go because you hate losing. But I actually really like your answer, especially for the SDR role, because it's an entry level role. And so if you gave me that answer, I'd be really impressed. I'd be like, huh, most people would say they hate losing. Roldan loves to win because he's not afraid to lose because he gets to learn and grow. And I would add that the reward you get for winning feels so good. So it's like I love winning. I love winning. It's like win baby win, right? So I think that's a great example there, even for the listeners of we care more about your thought process than we do these answers sometimes. If you can give a well thought out rationale to why you answered that way, I like it. It's a good answer.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. What was the what was the hardest part about interview prep?
I think the hardest part interview prep, I think, it probably had to do with probably like interview questions. I know for me, what I struggled with at first when I started doing interviews, I had such an anxiety to memorize every single question, like the answer to it, like word per word. And I found myself stumbling myself when I like lost that memorization. So instead of just really trying to hard memorize it, I would just kind of think of like the layout of the answer, the way I'm going to answer it, and just kind of go with the flow.
Mhm.
Um, I know when it comes to prepping for like interviews, it is a good thing to actually look over the company, read customer stories, and like just really kind of do research on the company as well, because sometimes they're going to ask you what you like about the company, or they'll ask you questions about the company. So if you don't do your research, and I actually had this happen to me on one interview, and I think it's because I was getting like 3 4 interviews back to back, and it was just hard to kind of keep up. I remember I didn't really do deep research on the company, and they had told me something about a customer story, and I was like, man, I honestly I don't remember that customer story. So I would say always prepare like the interview questions. You don't have to memorize it, but really just kind of follow like the flow or the template, and be yourself too. Also, I think a lot of you know people just kind of really look for personality too.
Yeah.
No one wants to really hire someone that's like a robot.
Yeah.
You want to show like your personality side as well.
You nailed it, man. Yeah. So when it comes to interview responses, you don't want to be robotic. It's tough though,
Yeah.
because you have to learn the script, especially when you're my student. I tell you what to say, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
But you have to then make it your own. And so the way to think of interview responses is rather than exactly a script, it's what you said. It's more of like, what is the layout of this response? And you should kind of have the three pillars in your head of how you're going to respond to a question. And it's just like these are my three objectives when I respond. I want to make sure I communicate humility, a growth mindset, and give a specific example. Those are the three things I need to do. And it's like these landmarks in your head, and however you get there is fine. Like don't stress yourself out trying to memorize these robotic answers, but like, can you get to those milestones in the response? That's the goal of what we're trying to do.
yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about the moment you got your job offer. What happened? Did they call you and how did you feel?
They had they had called me, and it was crazy because like this was last week on Wednesday. I had done 2 interviews back to back. So one was with one of the BDR members, and then the last one was with the VP of sales, which was I was like super nervous about. Like I was like, man, this dude. But it's crazy because like I had talked to another BDR on the team, and they gave me insight. They're like, hey, these last 2 interviews, super cool people. They just want to see your personality, be honest with them, and all that. So I ended up getting the call. I remember I was like at a mall, And I remember it was funny at first because I thought it was like a scam call, so I hung up,
Oh, no.
like, without even answering, and I was like, "Hold up, what if it's, like, the recruiter?" And so I called him back, and I remember the recruiter going, "Did you just hang up on me?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry." I made up an excuse saying, like, I accidentally, like, hanged up when I let it, like, touch my cheek. She just started laughing, but, yeah, she kinda broke the news saying, like, "Congratulations, everyone, talked about you. They loved pretty much the conversation they had with you. We want to get you on board and everything." And like, man, like I felt so relieved because it's like I've been laid off for a long time. I struggled, I had struggled with income. And now that I'm able to actually pursue in a new industry and a new opportunity, I'm super excited. I felt like I finally, that 1 month felt like forever for the amount of work that I was putting in. but now I'm like, I feel relief, excited, and super like stoked to actually break into tech sales.
Come on, bro. You're gonna crush it too. You're going to a great company, and they're lucky to have you, bro. For real. You're gonna crush it.
Absolutely appreciate it.
What advice would you give to Roldan, who was in the middle of Coursera, stressing out about getting into tech sales, nothing's working, and you're about to decide to go into door to door? Like, knowing what you know now after joining Sword, what advice would you give to younger Roldan?
Probably say don't give up, but also believe in yourself. I I've lacked before in believing in myself, and you know, thanks to me getting laid off, I learned a lot. I felt like I got to know myself better, um, but also be able to get out of my comfort zone too. Getting out of your comfort zone. I know it's not a lot of people like to do it, but I feel like when you get out of your comfort zone, you do learn a lot about yourself, and you learn about other things as well. People tend to be so comfortable where they're at, and it kind of leads to a boring, I guess, a boring life. You're not challenging yourself with something new. So I would definitely say, yeah, believe in yourself, don't give up. Um, Especially because even then, like doing door to door, if I wasn't in that contract, I would have gave up a long time ago.
Mm, mm.
But I just kept pushing myself. I reminded myself like, why am I doing it? I kept pushing myself, and I kept, you know, really just learn sales and get better at it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That commitment, that contract, like going all in on yourself and making a commitment like that to yourself is so important.
Yeah.
Last question I have for you. Where would you be right now on October 16th, 2025, if you never joined Sword? Where would you be right now?
If I never joined Sword, I probably would be definitely not in a tech sales role. I'd probably be either one, still employed, or two, probably working back at another job I worked at. Um, I felt like even then, like it's very hard nowadays. It is kind of hard to find a job, at least in where I'm from, in Houston. So I feel like I would be stuck in the same situation that I was 4 or 5 months ago. You know,
Hmm. Well, praise God that that's not your reality, man. You're starting a new job
Yeah.
in the next few days here, man. So I hope you get some chill time before then. Are you going to relax or are you going to be working on stuff in between now and then?
I'm definitely gonna work on some stuff. Been working on kind of getting more into like the cold calling, outbound playbook, and all that kind of stuff. But I do wish to relax, but at the same time, I really want to come in prepared and like ready to just get the ball rolling. I feel like to me, I've been relaxing for like 4 or 5 months already.
You're ready to work. I like it, dude. I like it.
I'm ready to
Well,
work, man. So,
you're part of the Sword family, man. So even as you start your job, I've got a bunch of resources to help you ramp into your new role. Make sure you hit the ground running, and
oh yeah,
you're gonna stay in one-on-one contact with me. So if you need anything in your new role, I'm gonna be right there to help. And dude, congrats, you did it.
appreciate it, Jack. I appreciate it. This is all honestly because you helping me and all that. I feel like I'm glad I actually took like that step out of my comfort zone and did this because me being able to experience this mentorship and one-on-one, I've learned a lot, and I feel like if I probably would have not done this, I probably would have still I probably would have not been even trying to break into tech sales because I probably would have gotten discouraged and said, you know what, I'm not doing it. So, I appreciate everything, all this and the opportunity, Jack. Man, this is amazing.
I love it, man. Can I pray for you? Is that cool?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, God, thank you for Roldan. Thank you for the future you're bringing him into with this new career. We ask that you bless him, you guide him, you protect him. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, my brother. Thanks. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Roldan's the man. I'm so excited for him. Look, free resources for you. One, earlier in the video, I shared a link to my free training. Go check that out. Two, if you want to do what Roldan did and land a job in tech sales in the next 43 days, all you have to do is grab some time with my team via the link below, and we'll meet with you, see if we can help you. And if we can, we'll throw in a 90-day guarantee where if you work with us and you don't get a job within 90 days, we will return your full investment. All right. The third resource is if you're just looking for a community of other job seekers, join my free school community. That's linked below too. In there are a bunch of resources, but more importantly, there's a whole community of job seekers that are going to be able to help encourage you as you go on your job search. So wherever you're at in your journey, we've got resources to help. Just go look at the links below. Thanks.